All right, welcome everybody to this episode of O365Eh. Tonight we're going to talk about Teams' big 5th anniversary, specifically how we got here. So we're all longstanding Microsoft MVPs, and we've specialized in OCS, Skype, Link, and then now Microsoft Teams. So it's been quite an incredible journey just watching the evolution of the whole product line and seeing how Teams has ended up in the fantastic place that it is today. So yeah, we're just going to discuss what we feel has been one of the most impactful things about Microsoft Teams that we've had a firsthand seat at experiencing in deployments and out in customer sites. So with that, Michael, I'll turn it over to you. And what's on your #1 list of most impactful things about Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, I would say it's the phone standard or phone system within Teams. And so if we take a look back at like 2017 and where I was kind of in my journey, 2016 I had just kind of successfully rolled out Skype for Business Cloud Connector Edition in a hosted model and a multi-tenant model. So we were tackling voice for Skype for Business Online, providing those services through third-party offerings. And so we were, getting a lot of market, and then we kind of hit that announcement of, Teams is coming, Skype for Business Online is going away. So what really kind of triggered my move from Skype for Business to Teams was really around the launch of direct routing. So I had a chance to take part in the Technology Advisor Program, or TAP, for direct routing, and so that was providing SIP trunking services to Microsoft Teams, and we were making and receiving calls through SIP services without without any Skype for Business infrastructure. And so that was kind of that tipping point. And then so we had, calling plans in Teams, we had direct routing in Teams, now Operator Connect, and we're seeing the Operator Connect program expand quite a bit. Operator Connect, kind of normal calling, conferencing, and now mobile. So now having your mobile phone kind of span your business client as well as your mobile device. So I think just the sheer growth on the voice side within Teams was really what kind of took all that momentum out of Skype and supercharged it in Teams. So I'd say the phone system aspect within Teams. Dino, maybe, or Hab, I'll throw it to you. Or no, it's Dino, right?
Yeah, I'll thanks, Michael. And indeed, I think lots of interesting functionality in the voice space there. I mean, when we think about devices in general, certainly, and specifically around the meeting space, Link and Skype, we go back to the LRS, Link Room Systems, and SRS, Skype Room System. And while it was super interesting and innovative at the time, I think it's probably a bit ahead of its time, but it wasn't so mainstream. Like if you wanted to do serious meeting room capabilities, you had to look to third-party vendors. So you had to look like, Cisco and Poly had much more mature and scalable solutions at the time. Certainly they had integrations into Link and Skype, but it required a lot of hardware, and it was a lot to maintain. So we went from that, Poly and Smart, the two vendors, to now I think we've got up to 10 vendors supporting the Microsoft Teams Room, or MTR, ecosystem. So that's been a huge expansion and interesting, kind of journey. And I think it's one that's now competes directly with some of those mainstream players like Cisco and Poly, their native solutions. Now Microsoft has a legitimate native Teams Room experience, and that just keeps getting better and better. And then, it's not just meeting room devices. Microsoft's gotten into phones. They had phones in Link and Skype, but now they've got many more phones for Teams, panels, both to use that run the Teams native client on the panels, meeting room panels that you can hang outside of a meeting room to do scheduling. Those didn't exist before. SIP gateway. So now the ability to be able to take non-Teams phones like Cisco and Avaya phones and more that are coming to be able to use those within Teams. So I think just the whole device ecosystem is just growing and growing, and you know, some of the vendors on the periphery in the meeting rooms are just coming up with some pretty fantastic options in terms of you know, sound quality, ceiling speakers and microphones. Like, you can get a pretty immersive experience right now. So just in general, I think lots of goodness, massive expansion in that ecosystem. Yeah, so, you know, with that, I think I'm passing it over to Hab.
Yeah, so thanks, Dino. I think, like, for me, one of the items, like, obviously between all of us, you know, we've been deploying Skype for many years before Teams. I was doing it, you know, primarily as my one consulting role, deploying all these different Skype for Business, you know, deployments. And one of the big things that I found was very impactful has been the, you know, the channel conversations in all of my Skype deployments over, I think it was like a 5-year or even like more recent, but like I never got the ability to deploy a persistent chat capability in Skype for Business. There was a significant investment, especially in the enterprise level, to deploy that type of service. Everybody loved or wanted the experience of, you know, threaded conversations and chats and stuff like that, but nobody wanted to, I guess, pony up all the money to, you know, go through the infrastructure and the deployment and all that kind of thing. So, you know, the channel chat and channel conversations were huge. You know, for me when Teams came out, right? And then obviously, they came out just with the initial public channel, you know, the general channel and other channels that you can have. And then they've since expanded it to, you know, private channels, you know, having just a subset of users within that. And then, you know, the future, which is going to be shared channels, which is going to be huge, I think, for the, you know, the Microsoft, I guess interactive or communication between different organizations and stuff like that. I think that's something that's been, you know, organizations have been wanting for a very long time, to be able to not have, you know, guest users within their tenant and be able to collaborate with those other organizations outside. So I think that one is you know, one of the most impactful one for me, among like all the other things that have come, you know, along with it as well. I know Kurt's going to talk about, you know, some extensibility, and we're all going to talk about, you know, a topic that I think we all agree upon that is the most impactful one. So I think with that, Kurt, why don't you give us a chat about the extensibility side of Teams?
Yeah, and not just extensibility, but from day one, Teams has been a cloud-first app. And in the Microsoft Cloud, that means integrated with the other M365 applications. And because that's been there from day one, I think it's easy to forget just what a tremendous leap that was from Skype for Business and, you know, Link and all the other predecessors. Because as you guys lived and know better than anybody, just doing a deployment inside an organization required hardware procurement. If you wanted it highly available, you almost had to double everything. If you wanted to have a high SLA, just the IT resources for monitoring and making sure that service is always up and running. It's absolutely incredible just having a cloud service where all of that infrastructure is taken care of for you up in the cloud and it's highly available. It just makes adoption a lot easier. Just, you know, from a deployment perspective, you just need to procure those licenses and you're up and running. That is a huge leap. And then Habib, you mentioned extensibility from a development platform capability too. You know, from a developer perspective, not worried about where servers are or what type of server it is. All the infrastructure is taken care of, and you just view it as a service that you can develop against, and you can have unified APIs that run against the various workloads behind the scenes. So So that speeds up innovation, and we've seen that in Microsoft Teams, where this is a development platform that's sitting on top of all the M365 applications like SharePoint, OneDrive, and Exchange Online. And in my mind, it's really spurred innovation on the collaboration front, which has been it's accelerated innovation at a much faster pace than Skype for Business or Link. So that for me has been huge, and being more on the development side has been a breath of fresh air. And I think it's one of the keys that has made Teams really really shine against some of its competitors in the collaboration space. So with that, I guess maybe.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to. I was getting a phone call. With that, no, I wanted to add, like, you know, it's. I find it interesting that, you know, when we were doing a lot of the Skype deployments, we had to know Active Directory, we had to be DBAs, we had to know networks and firewalls and web servers and load balancers and all that. And now, you know, we can just really focus on, you know, onboarding the customer to the service and showing them like all of the capabilities of it, as opposed to having to run and install the servers and talk with this team and talk with that team to get like the just the infrastructure up and running. So
yeah, big time. And we'll finish with the fifth big impactful feature that we all got excited about with Microsoft Teams, and that is online meetings. I think we're all agreed that meetings with Skype and its predecessors were a lot more challenging from a usability perspective. That certainly for me was one of the biggest things with Teams meetings. They were just easier to join and much more usable. But I'll open it up to you guys. What for Teams meetings has really impressed you about the experience?
Yeah, I could take a crack at this one. So I think for me, the biggest one was it just works, right? So when we were dealing with Skype for Business and Link, depending on, you know, who is hosting the meeting, what firewall rules they were using, where the participants, you know, you'd always have like the presenter stopping their screen share and starting it, saying, you know, can you see my screen now? Can you see my screen now? Okay, let me reboot, maybe reconnect. Now it's really just, you know, when can you see my screen? Because when I hit share, you know, chances are everyone on that call is going to be able to see my content. So that was a big shift from Skype for Business to Teams, even in the cloud from both products. I think the meeting recordings, not doing that client side anymore with the Skype client, and then trying to think about getting that huge file somewhere, distributing it to external parties. Now that being in OneDrive and SharePoint. And then just me as when I'm presenting, I think raise hands is another big one for me, because I often get lost in what I'm talking about. I don't really pay attention to the chat. So the raise hand is just like right in your face, like, hey, we need to, see what's going on in the audience. So.
Yeah, those are good ones. How about you, Dino?
Yeah, I think Michael took most of mine, but I'll just echo those comments. I mean, certainly having a usable mobile client as well in the meeting experience. A lot of my previous customers had iPads and they want to be able to join a meeting and make it actually functional. And I think we all know what that experience was like in the Skype world. It just wasn't very good, and a lot of people abandoned the mobile experience. But you can, it's not a problem to have a meeting from your iPad and share some content. So I think that's really improved the overall experience of Teams, is the fact that it just runs on all devices. So whether it's Android or iPhone, or your desktop, or on a Mac, you can get that similar, consistent meeting experience. So I know, and for many of my customers at the time when Teams came out, they were seriously looking for a better meeting experience. I think they'd all kind of just had enough of the issues and the common problems that were plaguing Skype at the time, and they wanted it to be more like a WebEx and a Zoom, and they just wanted it to work. So for me, I was very similar experience to Michael, and that was just frustration by many customers wanting to get on to a new platform that just made things very, very much simple. I mean, there's a whole plethora of other features that I'm sure we could spend another half an hour talking about, but maybe I'll pass it over to I don't know, to have or yourself to talk about your favorite features or functionality.
Yeah, so I mean, like for me, I think it additionally into all of the above of what you guys said, just also in the ability because I've been working a little bit in the accessibility space. Just the live captions capabilities, that we didn't have in the Skype side. The transcription now. As well that we can have along with the recording to help with the accessibility side of things, the new cart capabilities where you can actually push that the media out to like an external translator and stuff like that. So for people that don't understand the native language that's being spoken, PowerPoint Live is huge too, because you can see all that translations of the PowerPoint there too. And then, a lot of things in the security space too, like the retention policies, all that was sort of like done within special policies. I mean, you really couldn't have that. I guess the capabilities that you have today, because everything is all in the cloud and it's in a central location before as well. So I think those are for me like the big ones there too. How about you, Kurt?
You guys stole all of them. I mean, Michael mentioned a good one, that client-side recording. It was always a pain and it never really worked well. Having that cloud capability just with one click and it just works and it's there and you can share it is huge. Also, you tend to forget too, from a meeting perspective, having a web experience that's largely has feature parity with the desktop client really saves a lot of friction when you compare it to the Skype for Business world, where it was always a bit of a gamble joining from a web browser. So yeah, just constant improvements on usability. I think everybody's really reaping the benefits from in terms of online meetings. That was great. So great session. It's, as I sit here listening to you guys speak, it's actually hard to believe it's been 5 years. I mean, it's really gone fast. But yeah, it's been great. It's been a fantastic ride. So with that, I'll wrap up and just remind people that we're all doing a session at Teams Nation this Wednesday, March 23rd at 11 a.m. Eastern. So our session topic is top 5 Teams management challenges tackled. So we're going to take our top management challenges and talk about how to overcome them and how to work around them. So for those not familiar with Teams Nation, it's a virtual conference. It's 100% free and community driven. And they bring in some really good speakers and thought leaders to share information and experiences with Microsoft Teams. So I think last I heard there's over 4,000 people registered. So come out and join in on the fun. So that's Wednesday. Just search Teams Nation. You'll find the website for that. So that's a wrap. And thanks everybody for attending. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.